All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate Conversations with Harsh, episode 2. And today we have Bava Srinivasan from Montreal. So Bava has been a real estate investor for a few years now. And it's an exciting journey that he has been on, from a full-time job with working with Bell Canada to now working now as a real estate investor, investing in multiple asset classes. And today we'll discover his journey, how it has been, and what kind of asset class does he focus on, and what he does to prep himself to face the challenges in real estate investments. So welcome, Bava. Welcome on board, and welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm super blessed, Harsh. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity, to share the experience and even have a conversation with you, right? It's the energy that we build on, and sharing is caring. I really appreciate that you're doing this podcast. I've seen you doing multiple stuff for giving back to the community. You have your own Facebook group, right?
Yeah.
Really appreciate doing this, and it's such an honor to just be, part of your journey. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll start, and it's just a Q&A. So I'd just like to know, for the viewers and the listeners, how you came into real estate, when you came to Canada, because originally you were from India, like
Right.
me, I'm from India too, but you came to Canada and then you moved to real estate. So how has that journey been, and how did you transition into becoming a real estate investor? And especially now, I see that you completed your graduation from Sydney in Nova Scotia, and
Right.
now you're here in Montreal. So give us a
Right.
little bit background so that everyone knows what your story is and how you became a real estate investor.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Tirupur, Tamil Nadu. So it's a southern part of India.
Yes.
So I moved to Canada in 2007, August 31st, to
Mhm.
be specific.
Wow, you still
Sure.
remember the date.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
every time my mom, remembers that day, and she's like, "That's the day you left, home." So she remembers that, right?
Wow.
Um, the school that I studied back home in India, they had a partnership program where you
Mhm.
did 1 year university in India, in Tamil Nadu, and then other 3 years in Canada. So you get the program. So that's how we decided to move to Canada. So it's a partnership program. So I landed in Sudbury, Ontario. Went to Cambrian College, studied there, and then I took a break, worked in Toronto, in Rogers for a year, worked as a business analyst. And then I went back so the partnership program is basically I have to study 1 year in Sudbury, Ontario. And
Okay.
then I have to finish my 2 years in Sydney, Nova Scotia. So
Oh.
Sydney is a small island in Nova Scotia. From Halifax, it's probably 4 hours drive. It's called the Cape Breton Islands, and Sydney is a part of is the capital of Cape Breton. If you can Google it, it's middle of nowhere back then. Right now, at least you have a lot of attractions, a lot of international students. Back then, it was in 2009. I think it was not a whole lot of stuff happening, right? So I still remember the first time when I went from Toronto on the plane to Sydney. I thought it was actually they're doing a pit stop to go to another place. So when you look down, I was like, okay, there's not a lot of stuff, and I thought it was a pit stop. Sometimes they stop and then they go to another city. So I thought it was a pit stop, but it was actually the airport. So which was
Oh.
yeah, so it was it's a very university-based town, I would say,
Okay.
right? So the whole scenario is based on the university, international students. Right after that, I did my undergrad, and then I worked. Then I moved to Halifax, Nova Scotia. Worked there, worked in Bell for almost 7-8 years, and along those whole time, I was doing a lot of entrepreneur stuff during the school and during while working full time as well. Name any job in Canada, I did it. I mean, I'm not saying this just to brag, but I worked in the airport, in the duty free. I worked in the gas station, worked as a delivery guy. Me and my friend, we did catering. Me and my friend, we did cleaning company, and I did showing houses on the weekend. And then I did a few other jobs where it was all customer oriented. So it was all customer related. So that's
Mhm.
how I tend to know that I love people. That's my superpower, right? That
Absolutely.
energizes me. Like, when I meet somebody, I always felt that, every single person has a story, and everybody single has a story to share, and it's all about how you look at things, right?
Yes.
So that made me realize that the whole journey that I did was people's business, and that helps you to the part of the story why I like real estate and why people are into real estate is it's people's business.
Yes.
So fast forward, during this whole time, I was into the mindset of entrepreneur mindset where I wanted to try stuff, and I even did imports of t-shirts because that's our bread and butter, like back home. So Tirupur is known for his t-shirts.
Okay.
So it's called the Cotton City of India,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So that's
Yes.
where all the Walmarts and Nike, everything they make it there. A lot of buying offices, and then they sell it here, and then they tag it, and then they sell it. So I was always into doing something where more than the full-time job.
Okay.
So I always had this. I was such a curious person, right? And I always wanted to learn more stuff. So every time I see a nice car or something nice or a personality that's really standing out, I'm always curious about how they did it and how are they doing it and what is their mindset. The whole
Absolutely.
time, the whole time I was always like, when I meet somebody, I'm always curiously asking about, how did you achieve in your life and what was your mindset during those time and how
Yes.
did you do business, and I would like to hear your story, right? That's how it pretty much all started.
So, and
It
an,
seems like exactly what you're doing today. So
yes, so an entrepreneurial mindset since the beginning,
yeah, I think so. I think it's just because of
and
my
a
granddad.
curious entrepreneur, right?
That's it. I would say it's the curious, right? Because it's
Yeah.
same thing with my granddad. My dad learned from him, and then I'm trying to learn. I'm still trying, right? I'll be trying for a long time. I know for sure.
Yeah.
So back to the story where I was working in Bell, and then I moved to Montreal for work, where I met my wife.
Okay.
She was going to Concordia here, so I was traveling back and forth. And then I said, okay, I need to move to Montreal since he was there. And then I worked, in the top 500 telecom company. And then I still, joined as a business development. So, which is always the people's business too, right? And
Yes.
then that's how we got started. Where we were living in Montreal. If people who know Montreal, so we were just renting in downtown. So as every single person, who's an immigrant story, they wanted to get their first home. So we did that. We went through the same process, and we were staying in downtown because of school and the university for my wife, where she was walking to the university, so we don't have to really drive and whatnot. So she finished graduation, and then we said, okay, let's get our first place.
Mhm.
So we were trying to look 15 minutes from downtown, close to the electric train. So back in 2018, they had the electric train project going on. So we said, okay, the logical sense would be somewhere walkable distance or 15-minute neighborhood or close to the REM, so that the value increases.
Yes.
So we found a place. We were ready to. We put an offer, accepted, and we were ready to move 3 weeks. 3 weeks that point. So my wife said, okay. I said to my wife, okay, let's go see the neighborhood on the evening. And we
Mhm.
said, okay. And then we went on an evening. And then we went there. It was so quiet. We saw only the lights. There was nobody walking in the street. And my wife looked at me, and she said, "We're not moving here." And then I was like, okay. I said, hey, we're like in 3 weeks we were supposed to move here, so we were planning to rent out our place downtown. Like we were in a rental where we said, okay, like we need to move. And then I started thinking, right, and then I was like, it was always a solution mindset. I said there has to be a way to really mitigate this. So and then I said, same night I did some research. I saw exactly how much I can rent the house for.
Mhm.
So I called my realtor. I told her to send the comps of the rental, and then I asked the permission for the existing seller to give us a walkthrough to do, sorry, for showing the property for the renters. So we
Mm.
did that. Like, so we had 3 weekends before we closed. So the first weekend I put the ad myself, and I asked, back then I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I didn't know what to do since I was showing properties when I was going to university. So I knew exactly what to ask the renters and whatnot. So I did the research, I put an ad, I got the comps from the realtor, and then I put an ad, and then I said, these 2 days, I'm going to do showings, and I asked permission from the existing seller. They agreed, and then we booked 4 time slots, Saturday and Sunday. I booked 10 minutes apart from each other, and then we created a buzz, and then I was able to find somebody, and then we rented it. So that's how everything got started, right? And then with my knowledge of what back then, I was just doing the basic math of property. I didn't even calculate property management cost because I was managing it. So basically, the municipal tax, the school tax, and then the insurance. And then I told the tenants to take their own hydro bill. And right after that, we were cash flowing around $420. So I did that for like 2-3 months, and then I told Sam, I was like, this seems really good. So we found a property, we rented out, and we were cash flowing, and we were living in downtown, and that percentage of cash flow is paying for my car payment. So now I see that, okay, like now this is, if we try to do like 3 to 4 or 5 times, so with that cash flow, we can use that cash for a rental downtown.
Absolutely.
So that's how it's like, okay, that's how it got started. And then I was like, okay, now let's see how I can replicate this. And now we got to find groups that are in Montreal that can help us to go through this, right? So then this was all during COVID, and I joined different
most
groups.
difficult time.
Exactly. Most difficult times. And I was like, okay, let me try to find different groups of real estate groups that are within Montreal. And Montreal is very French based, so I was trying to find more English based groups. And then these were all online due to COVID. And I did join, a group in Montreal. Kudos to Axel's group, Axel Mont Saint Jean, right? He's a part of our community. Harsh, you might know him. And I joined this group, and then I realized a lot of stuff once I joined a group, right? It's all about, what you tell them so that people will remember for what you wanted. So, and I told them, hey, I'm looking for another single family home in South Shore. So every time I'm going to this calls, I'm meeting other investors who are having few portfolios and they're having multifamily. Back then, you were just all concentrated of exactly what your goal is. Whoever is listening, I want them to know that, right from you getting into real estate investing, start thinking as it's a business, right? Start thinking as with open-minded, right? Any information is an information, right?
Absolutely.
It's all about how you process it. It's all about because sometimes you're so blindsided because let's say you're only looking for one thing, but some person is saying other things. You're like, hey, I don't want to listen to you because it's not in my strategy. But if you have an open mind of looking at things, maybe the other person can give you a view of, hey, what I would do if I was in your shoes.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I mean, you might know that. I mean, you're like a experienced real estate investor. You do commercial. I'm sure like there's a lot of things that you learn from other people, and then you learn yourself.
Oh yeah, every day.
Right.
And this podcast now, we are on episode 2. Before this, I was with another one, and there I learned some new things, and it was with Nick. So he's a musician, and
Right.
I'm into a real estate investor, which was really phenomenal, right? And he's doing really, really good now. So almost 250 units, which is great.
Right. No, absolutely. I think it's all about like that's what I mean. Like every single person has a story, and you can learn from every single person. Like
that's why I created this so that investors can come in. We can curate all these stories, and people can connect to those investors.
Right.
And it's like basically by investors for investors, everything for investors in this podcast. So that's what we want to focus on, and especially on the commercial and multifamily side, where different asset class comes in play. Yes, residential too, but yeah, mostly it's more of the commercial side because I find lending is easy. I find qualification is easy and all those kind of things, right? And investing is a little more easier in commercial than residential. Like the management and economies of scale are, they're much better in commercial than compared to residential.
Right.
All right, that's a beautiful story, and quite inspirational, right? I wanted to ask you about your Instagram Live, right? I know you do an Instagram Live every week. The name is Let's Grow Together.
Correct.
So something about Let's Grow Together and what you do in that kind of a podcast live, you want to name it, right? But the name is really attractive, like Let's Grow Together, right? It's
Yeah.
really, really good.
No, thank you. Thank you. It was more intentional, I would say, where, I was always, right. I would say my rebirth was 5 years ago in terms of the way I think and in terms of reset of mindset and who I
Yes.
want to become. And it's a constant journey of, as you said, like learning, not just the strategies, learning more about you, more about how you feel, how
Yeah.
you act, and how you want to become the person you want. So
Yeah.
when I started this company, it was basically the intention was the company's name is when I should actually bring a value in their life. So that's why I said rise investment. So rise could be on anything, right? You could rise your energy, keep rising. And the way you look at it is keep moving forward in terms of rising, right? So that's why we came with the logo, or even you could call it as a tagline for it's called Let's Grow Together. So
Yes.
which means it's I was always in the mindset of sharing is caring. So whatever I knew, I was sharing to the people in terms of, hey, I wish I knew this when I was starting out, or I wish I knew this, right? So that's
Yes.
the way of
That
giving back
is,
to the community, right?
yes, that is where uh, I've seen uh, quite a less number of people focus on that area.
Yeah,
Yes, people do focus on what they are doing and how great it is, but
yeah,
what they missed, and if they were to do it all over again, what they'll do different. That's something that's where I see the value is, and that's what
absolutely,
our focus is as well. That through this podcast we can get those things out. Okay,
absolutely.
tell me about your asset classes. Like where do you focus on? What kind of assets? I'm pretty sure commercial, residential, you have all on the go, and like you have almost now in a few days it'll be all over 100 units, right?
Right,
Which
right.
is
No, it's
really great.
no, it's absolutely like it's a blessing on the journey, right?
Yeah.
Where we just talk about the numbers, but there are deals that didn't go through, right?
Yes.
Last year I worked on 4 deals, right, where it didn't happen, didn't pan out, right? So
Okay.
there are times in life people were listening, it doesn't mean that everything you work in life would
Oh
go
yeah.
through,
Oh yeah.
right? It's
Absolutely.
just a matter of, because we always talk about what went through and we don't talk about like what didn't go through. I feel it's more emphasizing of, I would rather share my failures in terms of I don't see as a failure, I just see as a um, um, success of your own self. You have to
Yeah.
go through that so that you know exactly how to deal with it, rather than saying, hey, this happened to me. That's why I always say, every day you got to work on your mindset in a way of, doing small little things, being intentional about every action you do. Like,
Absolutely.
like even
Absolutely.
even like you could understand it more, because I see when you post on your Facebook group, you talk about, small little thing, what's your win per day, what are you grateful for, right? I know
Yeah.
you're doing it more intentional. So
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. So the asset class, what kind of asset classes do you focus on?
Yeah, right now we're primarily focusing on multifamilies in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. The
Okay.
reason why Nova Scotia and New Brunswick is price per door.
Okay.
And number two is basically because I was there, I was living in Nova Scotia, so I knew the know the customer. So like a KYC, how they say know your customers. So basically, you need to know what type of assets you're investing in and what type of demographic you're investing in.
Okay.
When a Toronto investor was investing in Nova Scotia, it's not the same mindset of how a Toronto investor is investing in Toronto. Nova
Yes.
Scotia was very laid back, very slow,
Yes.
right? So you have to be used to it. And New Brunswick, the rules in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia is completely different, right? So that's why I like investing in the place which I'm so comfortable about, and then building your own teams, right? So
Yes.
the key team members, the property managers, the mortgage brokers, the realtor investors, and your contracting team. So either you create your own uh, team, or you partner with people who are
Yeah.
already established with it, right? That's
Yeah.
another way of thinking with an expansion mindset of, hey, I don't need to do everything. I don't need to know everything. You
Yes.
need to know the person who's doing everything, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
You just
that's
need to know the people who are doing it. And
exactly.
connect the dots together, right? Connect
That's it.
everything together, and then it's like I see it as in like an orchestra, right?
Yeah.
So if you are good at orchestrating people and stuff, everything will fall together.
Right.
So
It's a project management in
yes,
real life, right? So
yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, it's like if you're planning something, it's like making a decision, and how would you actually take ownership of it, right?
Yes.
That's how I see it in terms
Yes.
of that. And we're primarily focusing on value add projects, right?
Okay.
So where in Nova Scotia, mostly you would see electricity or oil based apartment buildings,
Oh,
mostly oil, right? And then most of the stuff is everything included in the rent.
oh,
So it's a no-brainer. You're going there and then you're doing renovations, you budget based on it, and then the goal is to put it back, the electricity, to the tenants,
oh,
right?
wow.
So that's why I say
And
it's
then
value add project.
you're able to do that, like even though the previous owner had it like combined, like all the rents and
Correct.
electricity and everything in there. Now you're able to charge just the rent, and the tenants are able to pay the utilities, and
Exactly.
you're willing to do that. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly why we look at value add projects, because the goal is to eventually, if it's higher units, bigger buildings, we wanted to go through the CMHC, and then we wanted to go through the energy efficient and affordability program in those points where we have to make sure that these are all compatible, right?
Oh, nice.
That's another way of looking at things. That's why I call it as a value add, where most of the properties that you see that are 1940s to 50s, where in Nova Scotia, even like 2020 to 2011, 12, like some of the single family homes, they still do oil tax, right?
Oh, wow.
So now, like brand new, within 5 years, they're changing, but before, like apartment buildings are still into oil. So that's where we come in, and then we either change it to propane to reduce the electricity cost,
Yes.
increase the rent, and then that's how your net operating income increases, which increases the value of the building, right?
Okay. So for the viewers and listeners now, for you talked about energy efficiency and affordability. So for our New Brunswick, what kind of affordability factors does CMHC factor in? Is it similar to Ontario? Like I know if you're taking a 50-year amortization on that MLI Select, then you need to have 70 to 80% of the building as affordable housing at a set given rate, right? For a number of years. And if you're like, so is it similar in New Brunswick, like absolutely similar, or what are the key pieces of things that you focus on when you're doing energy efficiency and affordability, especially
Perfect.
when going with the MLI Select, right?
Yeah. So in New Brunswick, in our projects, the ones that we are going to buy is basically you need to find a CMHC product guy. When I mean product, a broker who is well versed in CMHC, and you basically leverage their experience to, when you actually looking at properties, you find properties that would qualify the stuff that you're able to do, right? Because I think 20% of the rental has to be affordability program,
Okay.
where you keep 20% off the rental to be just below the market value, and
Yes.
then you add energy efficient stuff where you convert propane. And then in Nova Scotia, we do have subsidy program from the Nova Scotia Power to give heat pumps. For example, there's like a 30% program where you can go to the Nova Scotia Power and you get a quote from them, and then you do with the same technician that they recommend, and then you submit the receipt, and then you get the money back, right? So there are ways to actually get money out of it. And then it depends on if it's a secondary market. They're looking at, the CMNC is looking at, with especially the project that we are working on right now, we haven't completely completed it. So the intention is to buy the property, thinking that the CMHC would go through. So that's why we started working with the CMHC brokers while we are buying it. So doing every steps based on what they would want it to go, so that we can qualify for that, right? I personally haven't completed a full project with the CMHC. These are the ones that we are having in mind, because it's we are buying it right now, and then the optimization, it takes a year, and then we'll go to CMHC, right? So that's the view that
there's more to come in the coming next
Yes.
12 to 18 months, right?
Correct. I think we
Mhm.
talked about it. Yeah, I think it'll
Yeah.
be a little bit more changes of how the CMHC is looking at it, because now they went through a lot of files and now they have some tweaks to bring it in. Either they would add it, they would remove some stuff, and I'm actually looking forward to see what are the new rules would be, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, that's really awesome. That's really awesome. So it's 20%, which is not bad. So let's say on a 20 unit building, only 2 units are
Exactly.
affordable, and 18 you can go way higher than
Right.
like absolute market rents, which does provide some economies and like makes the project financially viable, especially when you're going for like a 95%
Loan to value. Yeah.
yeah LTV. So that's really good. And then also the rates out of the program are really, really good. Like
Correct.
it's
Correct.
like what, 2% or 2 point, like somewhere around 2 to 3%.
Three.
For
Yeah, it's
for
around
rent.
3 something. So yeah.
Oh, they increased it because they just raised the bond
Correct.
rates. So yeah. But again, getting a 3% mortgage just with having 2 units out of the 20 as affordable, I think it's a deal. Now consider that on a like a 50 or 100 unit, right? So it's
Right.
just 20
It
units,
it
and
it
then
it, it,
everything
it
else.
changes, right?
Yes,
So,
it
yeah.
changes and by a lot, right? It
Right.
makes it viable financially, absolutely,
Correct.
completely,
Correct.
which is a good program.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, like people should. I think it's the smarter way is right when you get in the property, it's better to just have a person or have a CMHC specialized broker
Mhm.
look at their view to run their numbers and see how conservative they can go and what are the stuff you can do,
Yes.
or work with brokers who are expertise where they've done few deals, so
Yes.
that it's better for you to go through their perspective and then do your project based on it, so that you're renovating the right stuff, not rather than cosmetic and just to increase the value, right? So I would say that the best way is for us as a team, like me and my team, we learned from that is find the right mortgage brokers that aligns with your strategy, and then go with the product based on what your strategies do. Because as a multifamily, that sometimes you have to go private at the beginning, and then you go, and then 1 year you refinance and you get a bridge loan. So there are a lot of ways to do stuff. The best way is to just find people that was already done this before, and then
Yes.
you partner up with it,
Yes.
or you get their experience, and or you can hire them as an advisor, because everybody, like me and you can relate. We don't know nothing, and we don't know everything, so
Yeah. You don't know until you know, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
and you don't know what you don't know as well, right? So the
Yes.
better is the more you network, the more you find that kind of people,
Yes.
use their expertise, and the best part is just delegating, right? So
Absolutely. And leverage is a big thing, which I have seen, which big investors or when they're growing, they do, right? Because I've seen investors who have like 500 units also, but they now leverage experience of people who have 1,000 units.
mm,
If somebody has 100 units, they might want to leverage someone who has 300 units or 500 units so
right,
that they can
right,
reach there and then move to the next step, right? And I'm pretty sure the people who have like thousands of units, they also leverage somebody else's who have more than them, so they can get into those kind of deals and situations. So leverage is the key of partnering with the right people, right? And
absolutely.
as you said, strategic advising, yes, get on strategic advising, get someone who can share their experience and come from whatever they know to that or to the deal, and they can help you out with that.
Absolutely. It's as they say, right? It's not what you know, it's all about who you know, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's absolutely that way. And even in our projects, we bring in people we give them equity for as an advisor, right? Because
Yes,
we wanted who has done this, whatever we've done, I would rather pay them equity and then save 100,000 in bridge loans or the stuff that I'm going to make a mistake where they
yes,
come in with that view of how you can. It's like a mentor, I would say, right?
yes,
They've
absolutely.
already done it before, and that's why people don't underestimate of mentorship, or people who are actually done it before, where it's an
Absolutely.
experience that you want to get. That could be anything. That could be for your business, for your mind, for your
Yes,
health, even for real estate. So A coach is somebody where, who helps you to see your blind side, and then
Yes.
help you to see the stuff that because when it's like running into a problem, right? If let's
Yes.
say if somebody comes to you with a problem, Harsh, I'm sure you're given solution. But if the same problem comes for you, then the way you act is differently, right? So
That,
it's always good to see from others' perspective where,
yes,
especially when the other
absolutely.
person has done it, right? So you could relate it
Yes.
more. So yeah,
Yes. And I think it happens with everyone. And I know I do understand the power of mentorship and coaching, and I'm pretty big on it. So yes, I mean, it always works. It's the experience that you benefit from. Uh, you cannot gather that experience. Like, I believe that there are only two ways, right?
Mm.
Either you can do it all yourself, spend those
Yeah,
20 years doing it, or the person who has done it for 20, 25 years, you just shorten
yeah,
that time frame, and speed again is the thing that you are after, right? How
right.
quickly you want to get there is up to you.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, you can spend 20 years and of course you will get there. But if you want to get there quickly, like in 5, then that coaching and mentoring is the thing to go.
Absolutely. That's why I love the time and the money concept where, if you have enough time,
Yes,
right, it takes 20 years, but I want to spend more money on that so I can shorten the time. And now
yes,
if you have the the money, but you don't have the time, so it's a proportional concept, right?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's why the more money you spend on mentorship, you're actually shortening your years, and then you're learning stuff that the other person has done, and then the mistakes has done, right? And
Absolutely, yes. Okay. And I know you're pretty high on the morning routine for
yeah.
yourself, and you talk a lot about that. So give us some insights how that's been helpful, what kind of morning routine you do or practice on a daily basis, and how has it helped you in the previous years and where you are now, like from where you
Absolutely.
were and where you are now.
No, absolutely. No, thanks for bringing it up. I think that's one of the very life-changing events or life-changing stuff that happened to me. That's why I used the word rebirth 5 years ago, where whatever you see me today, I was not like this 5 years ago, right? It was consistent work of repetitive stuff or doing over and over when things were actually not happening in your way, right?
Yes.
So people just see like what we see today, but that's why it takes much of time of consistency. When people say you go on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, people say, oh, you have to be consistent, right? It's when the consistency is nothing but when things are not in your way, you still keep doing stuff which you're doing every day, right? So
Yeah.
my routine, I started reading like different books like 5 a.m. Club, so me,
Nice.
I'm a guy of as I said, curious guy where anything I read, I want to implement. So I only read books that I can implement right away.
Oh,
So,
wow.
like 4 hour work week, 5 a.m. club, taking cold showers. So anything that I see online or read, I implement right away. So I'm super influential in that way where if I see something, I'm gonna do it. So that's why it's plus and minus, right?
Yes.
Because if I really like somebody, whatever they do, I think that okay, like this is the path that they took it, and I see. So that's why people say, oh yeah, hang out with people, show me your 5 people that'll show your friends. Is basically if you're an influential person already, whatever the other person is doing, you want to do it, right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
like I started waking up early, and that became a habit of doing cold shower, right? I started with
Cold shower in Canada. Wow.
yeah, exactly. I mean, for me in my head, like they always say, everything is in your head, right? So when I did the cold shower, I mean, I started with hot water first, and
Yes.
then gradually increased, from 30 seconds to 1 minute, and now it's like more cold shower where, I feel that's my first win for the day,
Wow. Yeah.
right? So when I
That's
when
a
I did
nice way
the
to look at
cold
it.
shower,
Yes.
yeah, that's another way to look at it, right? So me, I woke up early already, and then I did the cold shower, and then I feel like I conquered my day already because I did something which I'm now comfortable with.
Yes.
So once I did that, and every day I was doing it for years and years, where I programmed that, and then right after that, I try to do meditation, right?
Yes.
So they, even in the 5 a.m. club, they talked about, the 2020 concept of
Mhm.
20 minutes of reading, 20 minutes of meditation, and 20 minutes of
Yes.
gratitude, right?
Yes.
So, and then you conquer the morning where, you're setting your own face up, right? You're setting your own day up. You're setting exactly what you're trying to do, right? As we always say, if everything is your mind, might as well use it for your own self, right?
Yes.
So that's how I started getting big into real estate. And when I meet people who are already listening, I want them to know that, when you start in anything, it could be real estate, it could be your health journey, it could be a wealth journey. When things don't change inside you, things won't change around you,
Yeah. Wow.
right?
That's a great
So
point. Yes.
yeah, because you keep doing other stuff and then you feel like, oh my God, my strategy is not working. I'm not seeing any change or whatnot. It's because you're really not aligned with yourself, right? I truly believe it. I truly believe it that people should actually talk to them more than talking to other people. That's why take your own time in the morning, right? Because our brain get clogged about looking at other stuff, Instagram, when you wake up. That's why when you keep your own routine, right? Why, there's a concept of why we do things in a certain way. That's why people eat, in the morning, afternoon, lunch. That's why we had breakfast, lunch. And why do they say, okay, wake up and brush your teeth? When you go to bed, brush your teeth. There's a routine. We've been doing this until we die, like years and years of repetitive, same subconscious actions that we do. Why
Yes.
not use that concept for your own benefit of yourself, right? If you create that routine, take that routine and create a routine for yourself, and then have something for the morning, right? Set your
Yeah.
face up where, that's how I got into manifestation. I got into, and then conscious living, right?
Oh, wow. This is getting deep. Oh,
And
wow. No, go on.
then,
Continue.
no, and then like, now like, I'm practicing myself. I'm waking up saying that, oh my God, I'm just so happy that I'm alive.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then once you're in that state, anything comes in your life during the day, it's a bonus. A problem is a bonus,
Yes.
right?
As they say, problems are a sign of life, right?
Exactly. So you're not triggered by small little things. Whatever triggered you is not a trigger anymore because you learned more about yourself and you're looking everything in a macro perspective.
Yes.
All problems are micro, right?
Yes.
And then once you look in the perspective of macro perspective, everything you start becoming a solution mindset rather than like going into a why this happened to me, what not happened to me, and it's all perspective, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So it's everything is perspective. That's how I start practicing where before I used to write down what I'm grateful for. I write down everything, but now I'm grateful during the day, throughout the day. You
Uh,
know, like even like I'm looking at my watch and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that I have a watch, right? I'm driving
yeah.
the car and then I'm like, oh my God, it's so amazing to drive a car, right? I've been there, but I took the metro, I walked. So now from the situation of where I am and where I'm today, I'm super like, don't say that I'm not saying out loud where, oh my God, I'm so grateful for this, but I'm actually feeling happy internally looking at the car and driving and feeling it. I'm like, look at this. This used to be my dream. And now I'm actually living in that dream. And a laptop, like before getting in this podcast, I used to urge and think of like how people do this. And now I'm so grateful that I'm able to talk to Harsh and be in this part of his journey. I'm so grateful that he came today and we had this conversation, right?
Thank
Small
you so
little
much for
things.
that. I'm
No,
I'm really happy. Yes.
it's small little things. And looking at the phone, I'm like, and then every time I put gas, I'm like, I'm able to put premium gas and I'm
Oh,
able to pay
yes.
this. I'm able to, every time I spend, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm able to do that,
Yes.
right? So constantly during the day, you're going through this. So you're always in that mindset,
Yeah.
right? Of being gratefulness. And that really changes your life. It changes the people around you and the people in you and the people you're handling with, right? And it could be like,
Slowly and
Mhm.
steadily it will become a habit that now, like in the beginning, it will be uncomfortable, right? Because
Right.
like you were talking, and I was just thinking, like, okay, if I'm like, it's uncomfortable for me to do that thing, like going for the car and saying for the watch, because we tend to take things for granted, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, in the beginning, it might seem a little uncomfortable, not a little, it'll feel a lot uncomfortable, but there
Right.
will be a point in some days that it'll become your life. Like it'll be so inhibited in you that it becomes a part of life and then everything just turns over.
Absolutely. That could be, the reason why I'm saying is it's just not real estate related. It's about your whole view of life will change. The relationship with your loved ones will be changed. Like, let's
Yes.
say you're having a, very tight relationship or tough relationship with a loved one.
Yes.
Now you will start thinking like, hey, at least I have somebody to share a
Right.
fight with, right?
Absolutely.
Imagine when you're alone, you always think like, hey, I need somebody. But when you're with somebody, you're like, oh my God, we're fighting, we're doing this and you're doing that. And then, every time I go to gym, I think about like, I'm so happy that I have a healthy body that I'm able to actually go to the gym and do stuff, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then
Most of what people don't understand is that many people are not most, but many people are not able to do those things. And that's why we should be grateful, right?
that's why the perspective is so important,
Yeah.
where every stuff happening in your life is to show that how grateful you are.
Yes.
That's how I see it, right? Because
Yes.
when I see somebody
Absolutely.
who's going through some stuff, and when I see somebody, who's going through something physically, something mentally, it shows me that, you should be so grateful that today you're alive and you're doing stuff, and you're able to talk, you're able to walk, you're able to spend the people that your loved ones are healthy and happy.
Yes.
Then everything will be a perspective, and anything addition is an addition of energy, love, money, health, wealth.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right on point. That's very
That's
good.
how that's how I started seeing it, and then it's still a journey, right? I'm still learning from a lot of people. I'm still learning how to handle my emotions. I'm still learning how to attract the right energy, and once you're in this journey, it's nonstop, and it becomes more addictive. And once you're in tune with how you feel, what do you feel, how do you say things? Because what we say is what happens, right? So you'll be more careful about how you think, and you think about the perspective of how an investor would think, and you would only attract that kind of people, right? And
Yeah.
I learned this where, I don't lose people, people lose me, right? Because it's
Uh,
like I only attract right kind of people, and only right people attracts me, right? So we
okay.
are in this to there today. It's because of the energy that we attract each other every time, every single time I meet you or Sonia. It's such an always amazing energy where, it's you just get such a good package, where you just come in, and like it's so fun to hang out with you guys, and the perspective about you share everything about your life, and small little things that you share. It's nice to see that, hey, like nothing is too big, in life, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's
It's,
what I love about you guys, where you guys do a lot of stuff, but you actually don't make a big deal out of it, right?
thank you so much.
So
Yes.
no, that's a
No, we try
perspective
to,
that I
and
got it from.
we are also changing our psychology because uh, we were not the same way as we are now, right?
Yeah,
A year or 2 years ago, we were not the same, right? We were different, and now we have changed, and now it's a journey.
keep
And
on changing. Yeah,
yes, yes,
change is the only constant, right?
yes.
So,
Because earlier we used to be more focused on the destination or the result, right?
mm.
Forgetting where we are. But now the
Forgetting the journey. Now you're concentrating on the journey, so now
journey,
everything is changing.
forgetting about the destination result, because it will anyways come. Good or bad, we
Exactly.
don't know, but we need
Yeah.
to make sure that the journey is really good.
Yep.
Yeah, it took us some time too, but yes.
No, that's what I say. Like sometimes when you're ready, right?
Yes.
Because when you have like some friends where they might have shared with you, or you're sharing with some friends or the loved ones,
Yes.
when they don't take actions, it's not that they don't want to listen to you. It's
Uh,
That's what I realized. It's like when they're ready, right?
yes.
And then at that point, if you're available, right? So that's how I started doing that, right? So because end of the day, we can't change anybody. We can
Yes.
only change ourselves. That's the only person you have access to. You don't have the power to change anybody. You can only influence, and they can only receive it when they're ready to receive it.
Yes. Wow.
So
Wow.
that's my perspective, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that changes a lot of things. Wow. That's see, I mean, that's a new learning for me too. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, and I'm sure pretty sure that the viewers and listeners will benefit from it. Like it's a complete drastic change from one mindset to the other, where
100%.
it's more focused on giving and sharing more information, rather than just uh, focused on the result and just trying to get there.
Mhm.
Instead, enjoying the journey and being more focused on how the journey is and how can I make it more beautiful, and
That's
how
it.
can I help others
While
during.
while you're during that, right? So that's another thing where
Yes.
I learned is, just keep having fun every day, right? Like that's another goal of mine where, I just want to have fun, right? Like every single day
Absolutely.
where, don't take yourself too seriously. That's the only thing I would say, it's don't take yourself too seriously where, just have fun. And, when you're in that theta state of thinking that way, like things will attract you rather than you're attracting things, right? So I feel
I'm not
that.
at that state. This is something that I'm trying to
Mhm.
do, but yes, I'm pretty sure we'll get there sometime soon.
No, because you're ready now, so you
Yeah.
will start thinking that way. And another thing I read in a book and I was just wowed by it, where it said, what you want in life
Mhm.
wants you more than that you need that.
Oh, wow.
So let's say you're looking for something, that thing needs you more than that you wanted it.
Oh, yes. Wow.
So it's just that's what it is. Like it's all about perspective, where how you see things, and it's in life. It's such a blessing to even think this way, right? That's all I can say.
Yes.
So
That's a completely different perspective. Wow. Okay. Yeah. 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 There are some things that I should be thinking of that way.
no,
That's a
it's a constant journey of we get sidetracked by the shiny object syndrome, or I mean we're still a human being,
yes.
and then we try to see like how we can do things and how we can make other people happy. And the only thing I would always say is just take time for yourself. The more you work on yourself, the things around you will change, and
Yes.
then you will see the difference in you, and you would see, especially in real estate, the deals will coming around. There are deals that doesn't go through. There's a reason why behind it. Instead of dwelling on why it did not happen, dwell on stuff that how you can react to it. It's all about not reacting, acting on it, because
Yes.
it's easy to react if it's
Yes.
a reflex, right? But how do you act on it is completely different. That's the only thing that you have under control. Reacting is not under your control, but acting is under your control, right? So
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
And that's what I felt most of the people who are, uh, I would say, like who are good and great at doing things.
Mhm.
This is how they look at things,
Yeah,
and through a different perspective. And they normally don't react. They only act and see things from a different perspective. Yes.
right, right.
No, that's really good. That's really good. All right.
No,
Uh, well, I am pretty sure that answered all the questions that I had in mind. And people, if you're viewing this or listening to this, if you have some questions, you can directly reach out to Bava or reach out to me, and I can have you connected to Bava. We'll be posting all the social links where you can get in touch with Bava on the video soon with the recording. And we really appreciate your time you gave us to listen to this podcast. Thank you very much. And Baba, really, really thank you for your time, and really appreciate whatever knowledge that you gave. It was really, some of the stuff is really powerful. Like I need to implement that too, especially
okay.
the cold showers. And that too in Canada, it's like, wow.
No,
I
it's
need to do that.
it's it's such a blessing, right? Like even able to share about this. I'm so grateful that you're doing this, Harsh. I wish you nothing but the best. Your energy is always amazing, and I hope I can come back on the episode 1001, right? So,
Thank you so much. Yes, you will. You will.
it's going to
For
be
sure.
such an amazing. It takes a heart to. It shows who you are to share, right?
Yes.
So people who are listening, please share this to people that that you might think that this would help, right? That
Yes.
would help fulfill Harsh of his dream of sharing this to people, and
Yes.
that's a way of showing him that you're grateful for his podcast. So thanks once again, Harsh, for giving me this opportunity. So.
Thank you very much.